Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, welcome to Super Fun Sunday. This is going to be very interesting. I was trying to think of something father related, and there were two things that popped into my mind. Actually, there was a few, but Todd father, Todd McFarlane. I was thinking Frazetta because he's kind of the father of fantasy art in some ways. You've got Jack Kirby, who might be the father of some of the superhero stuff that we're into. But ultimately, I gravitated towards McFarlane, and I've done other McFarlane videos, but this is going to be very interesting. You really want to stay tuned for this one because I might have broke a story in this that is pretty crazy. Honestly, it surprised me, and I think it'll surprise you too. So you want to hang in there for this reveal because it's like you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Anyway, so what I thought we would do is we're going to actually look at the transition from what was going on in Amazing Spider-Man to Todd's work, because if history tells us anything, it's that Todd kind of came in and did this very crazy style. He changed the way that Spider-Man looked with the big eyes and the spaghetti webbing and all this crazy stuff. And I wanted to see what the book looked like before Todd got on it. So I started about a year before his run, and we're going to look at just a few pages from each issue. It's going to go a little tiny bit out of order, but I'm going to if it's not the pages that I want to show you, then I'll skip around a little bit, and then we're going to look at Amazing Spider-Man 300, which will be really, really fun. So anyway, so this is a little over a year before Todd got on it, and this is just a Mike Zeck cover. I thought it was a cool cover. We've got the Punisher, which Zeck is famous for, and then Spider-Man in the black suit. And as you can see, we've got no spaghetti webbing. I like this drawing. I like this cover. I'm a big fan of vintage comic book covers, and I know that this isn't as vintagey as they get, but still great old school comic book covers, I think, are really, really fun to look at. There's just something iconic and simple about them that make them really memorable and stand out. It's similar to like video games where the video games look amazing now, but it can start to look a little homogenized with all the digital stuff that they do and the color filters and all that. And then there's a character to the other ones. So all right, let's go. So that's the Amazing Spider-Man 300 cover. So, okay, this is Todd's first issue. I thought we look at a few pages of this. So here, this is from, look, Malwarebytes. It always pops up right when I'm shooting my videos. Here's another cover from a little over a year before Todd got on the book. And we are going to look at some interiors too. But, it's pretty classic Marvel fare. The penciler that did some of these issues is actually quite good. I know the name, but I wasn't really familiar with his work. But I thought he was a really good penciler. It's just a different style. It's a little more traditional. It's a little more 6-panel, 9-panel grid-ish. But he's still a real good draftsman. So anyway, we got that. Oh, this is a Todd page. Like I said, it goes a little tiny bit out of order. So this is some of this guy's stuff. But it's I think this looks cool. So this is Alan Kupperberg and Jim Fern inks, and I think this is nice. I mean, is it as exciting as stuff that came after it? No, probably not. But I think it looks cool. So we're gonna look at some sequentials from this guy too. That's Todd. Okay, here. Well, let's skip this for a sec. And that's that file. Is this gonna work? Okay, so this is the Kupperberg guy stuff again. I think this is a very, very cool like layout. I think his figures are drawn really cool, and everything is looking pretty groovy, honestly, and it's exciting. What you'll notice with this guy's style, though, is that all of his heroes are kind of the same structure, meaning they're very human-like. It's like a 8-9 head tall figure, meaning that the proportions aren't exaggerated much. They are, but they're he keeps his type the same, meaning that the Punisher is just a slightly bigger version of his Spider-Man, and his villains have the same body type. It's just classic superhero proportions, where some of the artists that came after that really started to make the proportions more extreme. The Hulk, although is bigger than the Punisher, sometimes they can look really, really strikingly different. So. and this is some of his interiors. But again, this isn't bad drawing by any means. It's just very standard. You know, the old school shoes. Everyone's wearing suits, even though I know they're thugs. But you know what I mean. But this is a dynamic, laid out page. It's laid out nicely. He moves you through it well. You can feel these shapes, and the swing of this fist pulls you over here, and this moves you out. So this guy is doing all the right moves. This is Todd. All right, let me see. I'll try to do this. So anyway, and I pulled up maybe about 6 pages of this guy's stuff, and what we were looking for is essentially like, how different did Todd draw this stuff? How revolutionary was it? Because based on Todd's retelling of history, it was it was a fight and a struggle, and Mary Jane never looked hot, and he made the eyes bigger, and again, the spaghetti webbing is a big one too. So it's all important to see. If you look here, you can see a little hint of something that looks similar to spaghetti webbing, but we won't get into that completely yet. And again, this is approximately over a year before Todd got on the book. This is from 300. This is more of the other guy's stuff. But this guy definitely wasn't doing spaghetti webbing. I think that was just more coincidence that it looked like that. Because generally speaking, he'll do like 5 strands of webbing coming out, and then he puts like a little scribbly line through it. But it's definitely not what Todd did for sure. So I think this is Todd. This is Todd with not inking himself. The first, I think, 2 issues that Todd did, he wasn't inking himself. Anyway, all right. So we'll. This is more of the Kupperberg stuff. This guy's good, man. This is a nice layout. I think it's an interesting layout and an exciting layout. So all right, we've gotten an idea of what's going on. So now I'm going to show you this. Where's the cover? Where's the cover down here? So this issue is 287. Todd's first issue of Spider-Man is 298. This is not an Eric Larson cover. This is from 1987, but Eric Larson did the interiors on this book. And so here's the cover. Now I'm going to show you the first splash page of this book, and I think it's going to melt some faces. Here's spaghetti webbing done by Eric Larson a year before Todd got on the book. I've never, ever heard Larson get credit for this, but, I mean, here's the proof right here. This is, and I'm a huge McFarlane fan, but I'm not sure why this has never been credited to Larson, because I could go back further and look through every single issue that happened before Larson, but as far as I know, this is the first time that I've ever seen this spaghetti webbing done. What do you think? Anyone an Amazing Spider-Man historian that can go further into this? But there's no doubt that this is spaghetti webbing, and I don't think that there's any doubt that this is at least 11 months before Todd ever drew Spider-Man. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. It was just a little, whoa, what is going on? I thought Todd invented this. So, you tell me. And again, I'm one of the biggest McFarlane nut swingers out there, so I'm definitely not trying to, take any credit away from him, but I do feel that credit is due. It's interesting because it reminded me of the Eddie Van Halen finger tapping thing, where most people will agree that Eddie Van Halen really made it very popular in music, but then you have people that will argue that this other guy did it first and da-da-da-da-da, and it's like, right, I get it. So, okay, so let's look at Amazing Spider-Man 300. This is a great issue. I actually have a really, really beautiful copy of this comic. I need to get it graded, but I've always suspected that it's easily a 9.8, and hopefully it is. I always feel like the longer it's sitting around, the clock is ticking on it, and the grade will go down, like a silverfish is going to get inside of it or something and chew up a page, and then I'm going to have a book that sucks. So this is not from 300 though, but this is you can kind of tell this isn't McFarlane's ink. So, but that's trippy, right? Like, do you think that that's weird that the spaghetti webbing showed up in an Eric Larson book? This is Todd's first issue. I mean, you can really see him amping up this webbing on this. And Todd does some great. There's so, like some little things that he does that are really awesome on this. Look at this. This is so cool. I love what he did here. And this is the first issue, I think, where Todd actually inked himself. So the first two issues they had, I don't remember who was inking it, but I think someone else. But Todd adds a lot more grit. There's actually it's unrefined, but in its unrefinedness, I think that there's a ton of character to it. So you know, this is all really awesome. It's so creative and it's so stylized and just badass, and this is cool. And he hides little things in his art, which is always fun too. I think, you know. This is from 298. This is so it's Bob McLeod did the inks on at least his first issue and maybe the first and second. 299 maybe also. I have all these too. It's funny because I had bought. Well, what happened was this is kind of a fun story. You know, we always love the treasure hunting aspect of comic book collecting, but before I broke in as a professional, I had a friend that would do comic book conventions here in San Diego. Like he called it a mini con, and I think he was doing them once every other month or something like that. They were quite frequent. They were small shows. He would rent out space at the Scottish Rite Center and get maybe 30 to 40 tables of people selling stuff. But anyway, he bought a huge collection of comic books from a store one time. I mean, I can't even explain. We went to the train station and it was like I had a truck, so I helped him move it all, but it was like 3 truckloads full of comic books. And what he did was my pay for helping him was we had it all in his driveway, and he just goes, "You've got 5 minutes to take as many comic books as you want from these boxes." And I just was like, boom, and I started like thumbing through all these boxes, and all I'm looking for is 12 centers, like titles that I knew had value, and I grabbed as many Amazing Spider-Mans as I could find from the boxes, and that's how I got a not a big part of my collection, but probably some of the more valuable books that I have in my collection was from that afternoon, and that magical 5-minute sort of shop till you drop moment. It was pretty fun. I would love to have an opportunity to do that again. So, but yeah, I got some pretty interesting stuff, and I think I added it up with like Overstreet. It was like $12,000 worth of comic books that I got, something crazy like that. But I mean, that's like full grade prices, you know what I mean? Not what you would probably be able to sell it for, and then also not taking condition into consideration because they weren't all like, you know, dead men or anything like that. And here's some of Todd's stuff. Todd on Todd, I mean. But yeah, I mean, you can really see that Mary Jane looks like a supermodel now compared to like the older style. Todd, he's so funny. He brings the sexy to art. He will tell you that all the time. I think his art is exciting. I don't always see the sexy, but I get what he means by it. Oh, that page that I just showed actually had a pretty sexy Mary Jane on it, actually. This is awesome. This is from 300. The Venom versus Black Suit Spider-Man. It's just great shit. His Venom is so awesome. He has a duck-like quality to his mouth. I don't know what it is, but it's like if you put a duck bill on him, he would look like Howard the Duck or something. This is a great pose. Look at his arm between his legs and down like that. That's so awesome. Yeah. We'll go through more of these Amazing Spider-Man issues because I think that they're really cool. This is very awesome too. And he used a photo here. I mean, but it's quite cleverly done, and it looks good. I'm not 100% sure where he would get a shot like this. I would assume from like an encyclopedia or some sort of magazine clipping. I mean, it's possible that he went up on top of a building and shot a photo at some point, but I would think it would be more likely that it was something that he saw somewhere. But yeah, it's interesting. Spider-Man is so like he's so crunched in. It's nice though. He turns the leg a little bit. This is cool. This is probably the Bob McLeod inks. Maybe not. It almost looked like he was peeing in the fireplace for a second. This could be Todd's inks. It's like a little more chicken scratchy than what a pro inker would do. Oh, this is so great. Honestly, his Mary Jane Watson looks like an older lady to me. This looks like a woman that's in her like mid 40s. I don't think that she looks like she's young. This is great. I love, love, love how he changed the thing. It's obviously like if you're a fan of the original version of it, it probably wouldn't be as appealing. Than his Felix the Cat, which he would always slip in, which is always fun to see. This is cool. We can go these pages out of order now at this point. This is a great page, man. Eddie Brock just knocked out. This is cool. That's so awesome. This is nice. I like this a lot. This is all side view. Do you see this? There's no perspective on this at all. And in reality, there's perspective on this. But if you look at this, you can't like this is a stylized drawing. If eye level is right here, you would start to see underplanes of some of this stuff. But he just does it all. Stephen Platt does this a lot. And he was doing it even on Soul Saga. He would do these huge double page spreads where it was like everything was at straight on perspective. So you can kind of get away with it. Well, here he's got a little bit of top planes here, sort of. I mean, I think he's indicating it a bit. But eye level is right about here. So anything below eye level, you would start to see the top of it. And then anything above it, you would start to see the bottom edges. So anyway. Come over to Patreon. I've got at least 10 or 13 videos on perspective. And you can, if you know the rules, you can break them. You have to have a good eye for what won't be obvious, though. That's the problem, is to develop that ability to know when it's okay to like sort of fudge things. 'Cause sometimes your vanishing points will make stuff look not good in a drawing. You can actually correct perspective and it looks bad. So it's a balancing act. This is cool. I would like to see the black and whites of these pieces. I'm assuming that he went in with white paint and drew this. He could have outlined it and then just filled the black in around it. It would take longer. Considering he was inking himself, I would assume that he probably did it with white paint. This is a great little panel right here. Man, this is awesome. This whole page is actually very cool. Todd had great influences, and it was so fun to see him completely assimilate them and not have them be so obvious in his work, which is really cool. But I mentioned in other videos where I talk about Todd, I credit the fact that he had to constantly adjust what he was doing to break in, because he was turned down so many times. He was probably getting a lot of feedback from different editors where either they were completely blowing him off and just saying that the stuff isn't good enough, where he would have to on his own assess what he did and then try something different. But it was probably very difficult for him to ultimately come up with a style at that point, because he just wanted work. He just wanted to get in. He wanted the approval, and I don't mean that in a literal way, but he needed the approval of an editor to get work. Mentally, he might not have cared if the guy or girl actually liked his work, but he needed them to green light him to hire him. And so moving into getting professional work, especially if he was getting close and he was getting like direct feedback from editors, he probably just did whatever it took to get hired. And then once you're in, that's when you start to slide back into, well, this is how I want to do it. And then as he was getting more fans, then he could really push that. So I think that the two of those things together really ended up making him a stronger artist for it. And that's why you see, even to this day, Todd can still draw really well, because he has it so encoded in him that even when he's not drawing a lot, I'm going back a few years, but there was a point where I think Todd wasn't drawing as much as he used to. Since he's been online, it's more of a show, and he'll draw more. But before that, I mean, it's like they don't get that rusty because it's so much, a part of them. It's like I could pick up guitar after not playing for a year and still probably play. Well, I was gonna say better than some people, but I there's certain stuff that I just will never forget, and so it's like I could play kind of anytime, even though people always think I'm a guitar player. I was a singer, but I play guitar. I played guitar for my whole life, pretty much. But the last bands I was in, I only sang. I would write on guitar. It's so awesome. Bam! Rock. That's cool. I like it. It's got some good shapes in here. It's fun. So what do you guys think about this spaghetti webbing thing? Is that weird to discover that? I'm still not sure what to make of it. I was a little surprised. And Larson, he's so vocal online. I'm surprised that he never was like countered Todd's spaghetti webbing claim. We're gonna have spaghetti web gate. I'm curious to go back. Like, I want to go back like an earlier, like another 2 years, and kind of work up to the Larson stuff and see if it appears again, not as an accident. Like I said, I think that one shot of the guy that did it a little bit was more just like scribbles that kind of look like it, but Larson clearly did it. To me, there's no doubt that that's basically spaghetti webbing. So, yeah, I don't know. I might maybe tonight I'll do it. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. But if anyone knows, let me know. Or have you ever heard Larson mention it? How do you I mean, I don't know how you would let that pass. They're like, hey, I did the spaghetti webbing. It was mine. And I know Larson followed Todd on Amazing Spider-Man for a while in the 340s, I think, somewhere around there. Larson came on and did I think a decent amount of issues. I have a bunch of them, probably from that binge of free comics I got. Well, I did work for them. It was a pain in the ass moving all those boxes because we had to load them ourselves too. This is so great. Man, Todd's work is so fun. I love it. His ears. It's so funny that he chose to draw ears that way. I think if they were normal, it would look weird. You know, it's got such an extreme kind of. There's like a lot of fat on this guy's face. I think this is that other penciler. You can see this is what we were seeing was that scribble over. But you see how I was mentioning that he does like 5 lines and then just kind of shoots it the direction he wants. And then there's a little bit of sort of the cross webbing on it. But, you know, for a 9-panel page, you know, this is kind of like Watchmen-esque sort of laid out. This is a pretty dynamic set of panels, you know. I don't look at it and think it's boring. The rain helps, of course, but I think just in general it looks good. But then you see Todd's stuff and you just go, oh man, look at this. And here's a photo stat. Chris Bachlo would do this a lot. I think even to some extent he still will incorporate this a little bit in his stuff. I know when I was working with him, he would sometimes throw in, I don't know if they call it posterized photos, but occasionally he'll throw a little bit of that in the background. I mean, I think as long as it doesn't fully pull you out of the story, it's you know, obviously it's not the same as drawing it, but it makes a pretty interesting effect. Again, I mean, and that's where your sensibilities come in. It's like some people might do something like this and it just doesn't work. They didn't apply it to a moment where it slid in and looked natural, and then other times, you know what I mean? Because it's like if you have a photo here and then you draw a background in a panel here, that could look very weird. It's like, why is it this way but then it's this way? So you really have to be sensitive to sort of the decision making that you use. This is interesting. So I'm going to point this out for you. So do you see how he's got this white halo that goes like here? But he didn't break the line here. I find that interesting because I think, generally speaking, I would probably have pulled this through, and I don't know if it would like. Do you see here how it's like the foot is completely separated from this other leg? But here he did choose to actually keep it connected. I think it looks good. I think that was a good call. So again, it's the little decisions. This is Todd. Now that's a cute Mary Jane. I think she looks very, very pretty there. I mean, he still draws the ear very, very bulbous. And this looks a little more young and hip. I'll give Todd sexy on this page. This page is more sexy. Even he's sexy. He's like, let me come over, Peter, to one of your parties. Yeah, this is cool. And Peter looks younger here, too. It's interesting. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, now I want to see more issues of this. It's a nice fist. Fist of Rage. That's cool, too. Burp. So, happy Father's Day to anyone that's father out there. And, happy Super Fun Sunday. Hopefully this was super fun and interesting. And, there's love in the air. Even she feels it. Aunt May is like, hold me, Peter. PS5 is coming out in just a few months. We'll get it for you since you've been such a good boy. This is my life. I do dishes like this. We don't have a dishwasher. I'm the dishwasher. She's like, hey, we're not getting Xbox One. Big eyes. She's cute there. Fishnets. Ooh la la. And look at those fancy shoes. I keep forgetting I can just shortcut to shut these. It's like a space out on it. This is a different penciler. Whoa, what is going on here? That looks crazy. If I was the editor, I might have had him fix this a little bit. This is like the foam covering his face. It's like it looks really weird. This is nice, though. All right, there. I shut it the right way instead of going up and clicking X. It's not a bad size room. I could do some stuff with that. This is nice. Okay, we're almost done with this. That's really cool. Why is it cool? Well, it's a very foreshortened pose, and it's very dynamic. Let's see what his Aaron was here. Nam. Bork. Mr. Bork. Sally. Peter. Rosemary. And Frank. Yeah, this is a cool pose. This has got like stuff in front of stuff. Very dynamic. Cool silhouette. It reads clear. It's all good. And then this. This is a nice panel too. Kind of Frank Miller-ish. Marvel Frank Miller. Oops, sorry, I didn't do that. Okay. And this is the other penciler. I think his Mary Jane is pretty though, but she definitely looks like she's creeping into her 30s. This is so like old school, like bad guy. He's got like the crazy mustache. You know, smoking will kill you. There's Todd. The Todd father. Celebrating Father's Day. It's like he's unwrapping his gun. This is the other penciler. Again, I think that these are nicely laid out pages, and it's an exciting like set of panels. Like this crop is really cool. It's creatively done. The tilt of the figures makes it sort of exciting. I mean, he is doing some straight up and down stuff here, which is always risky, but he pulled it off well. You know, like it can look real stiff when you start to run stuff parallel with the panel borders, but he did it 3 times. Although the interior of the bus is a little mixed up because he's got some perspective going on, but this is a tough shot. I wouldn't. That's a nice pose too. The way he turned this guy's head, he's like squeezing through. But yeah, he made it interesting. This is cool. I like that. This is nice too. This is cute. Peter's pretty buff here. He's got some width. And this is that other penciler. What is she doing? Is that a vape pipe? What is she up to? What is that? What in the world? I have no idea what that is. Interesting. I'm gonna go with she's vaping. Comics are too fun. There you go. Another photo. Look at him. He's waking up. Is that his watch? Peter doesn't sleep with his watch on, apparently. That bottle is pretty wonky, but it doesn't really matter, but it's like a little... Oh, look at the old school TV. That's funny. What is this? Is that a VCR? Maybe he's got a Sega Genesis, or I guess, I don't know what it would be back then. Atari? I like when people ink stuff like this with these more, I guess I'll call it like Zek-like sort of shadows on the costumes. I think it looks cool. This like is real nice. But you look at the webbing, it's so boring on this. Compared to what was to come from Eric Larson. If you ever hear this story somewhere else on YouTube after this video, then you'll know who cracked the story first. People will swipe my content and do something better with it. Look at that. Okay, cool. That's it. Hopefully that was fun and somewhat interesting and funny and put your day on the right path. So everyone take it easy. Keep drawing. Check out Patreon. Please subscribe if you haven't. Share my videos too. That would be great. If you're ever online anywhere and you feel the urge or something ties in with something that I've done on a video, please, by all means, share it. I would appreciate it. And hit that notification bell. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.